again, this is Dr. Lindsay. And in this video, I'd like to go over the practice handout for stabilization policy with monetary policy. So first problem, the economy is operating inside the PPF. So if we were to draw the PPF in the economy, we're inside it, which means some unemployment, cyclical unemployment. Inflation is running zero. That sounds great, no inflation, but that's too low as far as the Federal Reserve is concerned. They're the ones that have the power to change it with the money supply. So draw the situation using the aggregate demand, aggregate supply curve. So we've got an aggregate demand, aggregate supply curve, and the intersection here has to be at 0% inflation and an output that is less than potential. So potential has got to be somewhere to the right here. So keep in mind the dual mandate of the Fed, which is stable prices and full employment. What do you think the federal market hope to do? Well, we want to move the economy out towards the end of the PPF. We want to stimulate aggregate demand. And the way for the Fed to do it would be to increase the money supply, which would lower interest rates, and that would increase aggregate. So aggregate demand curve is going to shift to the right. The new equilibrium will be closer to potential, maybe at potential. And it looks like on this model, the inflation rate will rise also. So they'll be pleased with that. Move the inflation up a little bit and get us back to potential. It does both their dual mandates requirements at the same time. Moves us towards full employment and moves us towards the goal of 2% inflation, which they regard as stable prices. Now, problem number 2. Suppose the economy has an employment rate of 3.5%. So that's very low. So that means we're actually outside a little bit. But inflation is 7%, okay, which is too high. So for all the situation here, well, we've got a aggregate supply curve and an aggregate demand curve. And where they intersect is at 7% unemployment, or 7% inflation. And where it intersects down here at real GDP, it's beyond potential. So that means the potential will be somewhere back a little bit, like right there. So keep in mind the dual mandate, stable prices, full employment, sustainable, high sustainable employment. What do you think the FOMC should do? Would the stance of monetary policy change? Well, probably so, because if we've got an economy that well, that high inflation, they've probably been very accommodative. They need to move back towards a neutral or contractionary stance. What's going to happen in the short run? What's going to happen in the long run? Well, what they're going to need to do is decrease the money supply, which will raise interest rates, which will decrease aggregate demand. And we'll start feeling the effects of it pretty quickly. This will move us back towards our potential, move us back towards being on the edge of the PPF, and will lower inflation. What's going to happen in the long run? So let's see. We've got our long run aggregate supply curve. We have aggregate demand curve, and our intersection was above or greater than that aggregate demand curve to the left, we want to know what's going to happen along with these along with the model. The model shows that be in full employment with a lower inflation rate and can continuously pursue this policy, actually policy to reduce inflation. Might take a decade. Then be very careful not to be too fast or else it'll cause recession. Okay, third question. Suppose the economy is operating inside its PPF. So here's the PPF. We're inside it. Inflation is running at 8%, so very high. So put 8% here for the inflation rate. We're inside the PPF, which means potential G is over here to the right of our equilibrium. Keep in mind that you'll get Fed stable prices and maximum sustainable employment. What do you think the F will see federal market should do? This is difficult. This is a bit of a problem here because if they want to lower inflation, they're going to have to decrease aggregate demand, which means increase in the money supply. Yeah, decrease in the money supply, raising interest rates. That would decrease inflation. The only problem is it's going to make the economy worse as far as GDP goes. We're inside the PPF, we got a recession. Now it's going to make the recession worse. It's going to make unemployment worse. So they may not want to do that. But suppose they decide to do something about the unemployment, since we're inside the PPF, and increase the money supply, which will lower interest rates, increasing aggregate demand. Oops. If they increase aggregate demand, they can move us back closer to potential, but the inflation is going to get worse. Now that inflation may move up to 8% or 9%. This is a difficult situation for the Fed to be in. Okay. Having high inflation with the economy not doing very well is referred to as stagflation. A stagnant economy with inflation going on. So what I found is they have to decide what's the most important thing for them to do and concentrate on. And what I found to be the most important thing that they generally look at is the economy. They worry about that a lot more than inflation. The politicians worry a lot more about that. Most people worry a lot more about their jobs than the inflation rate. So most likely here, the Fed would probably loosen up a little bit, become a little more accommodative, increase aggregate demand, even though that makes the inflation rate higher, and then worry about the inflation rate later. Wait till the economy's recovered, we're out of recession, we're back to potential, then start trying to decrease the money supply and decrease aggregate demand slowly over time and work on reducing the inflation rate.